and banelings. And we do see that baneling nest down, speed finished. Carapace actually going down for the Mutalisk. An interesting choice and upgrade there. Most Zergs do opt to go for, the attack. And an infestation pit researching pathogen glands as well. I love good infestor play. Maybe some neural parasite on those Thors would be pretty sick.
Yeah, infestors are awesome. They're surprisingly a very underused unit. I don't see Zerg users using them enough. They are so strong, and like you just mentioned, they pretty much do awesome damage and roots all bio, and then they have the ability to take control, mind control, basically power units like Thors. So
yeah, I mean, and once you take the Thors out of the picture with an infestor, you have the ability to just do tons of damage with the Mutalisks and not have to worry about not stacking them up.
Absolutely.
And approaching the 15-minute mark, we do see a hive started. I think this is great timing on the hive. We see 1-1 about to finish, and you will note that 2-2 actually takes almost the same amount of time as that hive takes. So I love this move. Getting a Roach Warden, getting a Roach Warden and +1 missile attack as well. Looks like he is anticipating the Thor amount and wants to just, go into Roach production to take care of it.
Yeah, and Terran is moving out here on the middle of the map. Kind of a smaller army, but if he positions himself well here around this tower, he can definitely probably hold Zerg back.
Certainly, and we do see the Marines are at 0-1. The Thors also have 1 attack, as well as the tanks. So, a pretty good +1/+1 attack for both infantry and his mech units. And we do see the Zerglings and the Banelings at 2-1, so they do have the upgraded advantage. Those Mutalisks also have that Carapace upgrade.
Yeah, the flyer attack is actually almost done, so he's about to be 1-1 with his mutts, and we do have possible engagement here. Mutes have to fly back. Here we go.
And look at this flank from all sides. Banelings, Zerglings pouring in, so many Marines dying. Those Mutes taking out the floor. A good fungal growth on some of those tanks, but it looks like, Soul God is going to have to pull back. Terran dropping some tanks on this high ground ledge. So hard to deal with as a Zerg player.
Yeah, definitely, but he's still in a really good position, LzhStoRY. I mean, he has 90 drones, so he's got 4 or 5 hatches, and he can literally pump out as many reinforcements very quickly. He just needs to probably morph a couple more Banelings, I would imagine.
I certainly agree. I do think, though, that, Avilo really cannot push until these reinforcements arrive. And look at this counterattack into the natural,
So smart.
Using those lings, those fast units to make a good counterattack, going to go cause havoc in this mineral line, and probably going to force some of these units at least to pull back.
Yeah, such smart play. Our Terran's only sitting on 2 bases. This is doing way more damage than it should be. And, oh, we have some lag, apparently, from the Terran user. He's losing SCVs at will. This is just not good for Avilo. He's in a terrible, terrible position all of a sudden.
He certainly is. And if we look at the workers killed, we see a lot of workers killed. Over 100 now, or I'm sorry, 48 now for VT having lost there.
Yeah, and the harvester count all of a sudden is 83 drones to 39 SCVs. For those of you who don't know, a big engagement. Ling's coming in, taking out these tanks. Roach is coming in, nice flanking. Those tanks on the high ground are going to remain, but these Zerg units can just flood right past them.
And a speed overlord coming here to expose those tanks, allowing the Roaches to take them out.
Absolutely, but that was a beautiful counterattack. It's really put him in a great position. He's got 5 bases up and running now. The 5th one not saturated yet, but hey, with 90 drones, or excuse me, 83 drones, he can pretty much do whatever he wants.
He certainly can, and we do see that 3rd planetary, morph there. But Soul Goddess in a commanding lead, almost with a 70 food lead in this game on 5 bases now. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him bust down these destructible rocks and take the center top base as his 5th. But look at this, 2 dropships now headed for the main of, Soul Goddess. Could do a ton of damage here. This is the kind of move where you snipe essential tech like that hive, like that infestation bit, like the greater spire, which is all sitting there undefended, and the drop is coming in.
Yeah, he's got to do some damage. He's got to get himself back in this game. This is a good start. Let's see how well. Let's see what kind of damage he can do with this. Story is reacting fairly well. Zergling's flooding in. They should be able to eliminate this, no problem. And the mutas are going to clean these medvacs up.
Yeah, I really am disappointed by that drop. I feel like he could have done so much damage had he, instead of going for drones or that queen, instead come in and targeted that greater spire.
Yeah, that's going to be going problem with him. He did see that there are corruptors out, so he's got to be expecting broodlords any moment now.
And there are broodlords out on the map. This is the unit, we've talked about, time and time again, the type of unit that gives Zerg the ability to put a lot of direct pressure back on Terran. The whole game, with the style of play that, Solgatus has been playing is defend, 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 upgrade, upgrade, expand, defend, and then finally, once you get that power unit, that Broodlord, you can finally just go in and kill Terran. And so it's, the Broodlords, of course, are going to nullify basically all tanks on the map. But we do see Vikings out, so Avilo not completely in the dark and not completely unprepared for this switch in tech.
Yeah, and he's going to need quite a few Vikings because there are probably going to be some Corruptors and Infestors supporting this army. Marines and Thors are not going to be enough to take this out because you have Zerglings on the map as well. This is a really difficult position for him to be in. That is a lot of weaklings.
Those Broodlings definitely going to, looks like that Planetary is getting repaired. Oh, so close. An amazing fungal on those Marines, taking out a Neural Parasite and both Thors. Oh, I love this move. And the Planetary falls. Avilo, with the congrats, you made it to Broodlords. He seems to know, of course, that once Broodlords happen, if you defend successfully, the game is kind of over.
Yeah, they're really difficult to deal with as a Terran user, and yeah, that was an awesome double Neural Parasite going down on the Thors. The Thor Hammer was actually the one that finished off that Planetary, I believe, doing some sick damage, stealing the unit of his Terran opponent.
Certainly, I mean, and it's, ooh, and leaving without a GG, a little bit of frustration there from Avilo.
Yeah. Interesting. Broodlords are a pain in the butt, man, but you know what? He was outplayed, and he sat a little bit too long on two bases, I think. He really needed to secure that third a little bit sooner, and I would have liked to see him push out with a little bit bigger army than he initially went with. That counterattack with the Lings, though, for me, is what changed the game.
I agree, but I think, one of the things to note in this matchup is creep is so important, and, Avilo really pushed into this position, a narrow choke, which is great for Terran, but he didn't clear out the creep all around him, and so when, when Solgatus pushed in with those units, he was on creep, had the speed bonus from it, and was able to just pinch her and crush that army. I think if he had pushed more slowly, and pushed into that creep, clearing it and waiting for it to recede before he moved forward, he would have been just fine with that push.
Yeah, definitely, and for those new users who are tuning in with us and watching these games, if you're new and you don't know much about this matchup or Zerg in general, and you're trying to play Zerg, creep is a very, very important thing, and I know Gwen will agree with me on this one. It not only gives you vision of all the creep you have, actually gives you vision, but it also makes all your units faster. So it's harder for opponents to retreat when you are standing on creep.
Not only harder for opponents to retreat, but in the instance of that particular flank in that hallway there, it allowed Solgatus to allow his Zerglings and Banelings to close the distance before tanks could get an additional shot off. And that's really the important thing there. If you attack on creep, tanks are just going to get one shot off. If you attack off creep, tanks will probably get a second shot off on your Banelings, which are a little bit slower.
Yeah, very good point. And tanks can do some serious splash to groups of Banes, and if you have the ability, as you mentioned, to close the gap sooner, you're going to be in a better position to eliminate the army.
You certainly will. And if we look at these, the upgrades at the end of the game, +3 mech weapons on the way for Terran, and +3 melee already finished for Zerg. So, a great job in the upgrade game for both players. It looks like, of course, Solgatus made it to Broodlords, as was mentioned, and had those good Infestor placements with fungal growth, as well as those Neural Parasites, won him the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you, once again, Soul Goddess is now actually changed his tag. He is a member of LzhStoRY Gaming, and he is known as LzhStoRY. For those of you who don't know, that is the guy that is Soul Goddess. So we will be casting quite a few of his games. I was very impressed with this first game we saw of him. A very solid Zerg play.
Certainly. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the second of these games, so you'll be hearing us from us again shortly. Again, this is Gwyn and Rohan signing out.
Don't go anywhere.